Hey everybody, we're Pole DFS. I'm Ricky.
I'm Keaton.
And we're going to today talk to you about NASCAR. We've got the Folds of Honor QuikTrip 500.
Atlanta.
That's a lot. That's a big word. That's
a
big lot to talk about.
Y'all will never know how many takes it took to get that
out. A lot of takes. But we talked about it beforehand. Folds of Honor, great charity, focus on veterans. QuikTrip, a great
wonderful gas station.
A great gas station.
Very clean restrooms.
So two great things coming together. But anyways, Atlanta. This guy right here just came back from Atlanta.
Did a quick recon mission down, check out the track. Actually, did not check out the track at all.
How close to the track did you get?
It depends. How close is the track to the
aquarium? It's about 20 miles from downtown.
I made it 20 miles from the track.
Is the
hard-hitting
aquarium
research.
Is the aquarium in downtown or midtown?
I believe it is midtown.
It's kind of close though. It's right in the middle.
It's right next to Centennial Park.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. They don't have a downtown though. That's a weird thing. No, they only have a downtown. They have a downtown, midtown, no uptown.
All right. So we have an uptown in Charlotte.
Yeah, Charlotte is the uptown of Atlanta. But no.
Wonderful city. Had a good time. Aquarium's beautiful. I think Legoland was a bigger hit.
Braves game's not started yet, so really the only reason to go to
baseball
Atlanta.
next week?
We're getting close.
Yeah.
For those of you that want some baseball DFS content, it's not going to be here.
We can recommend a channel.
But nonetheless, we're going to start with some housekeeping. Our beer of the week. I'm very proud of this one.
Yeah.
The Town Brewing RP1.
Ricky brought this for us.
Town Brewing.
Freshly canned today.
A couple reasons. This is the first day that they've been selling cans. Town Brewing in Charlotte. Second of all, it has my initials. But Town Brewing, a great brewery. It's over on the west side. I love it. I recommend it to everybody. Great outdoor space.
Yeah.
Not as crowded as some other breweries in Charlotte that people talk about. But it should be as crowded because the beer is better.
But don't make it as crowded because then we won't want to go there.
Yeah, that would be also be.
Also, I'm wearing Carolina because my Heels are getting ready to play. Actually, I think they're playing right now.
Yeah, I'm sure they are playing. I don't know. State won yesterday in the NIT, making it to the Elite 8 of the NIT.
The Heels are getting beat pretty handily by Wisconsin.
We're just not even going to talk about it anymore. Anyways,
back to racing
as usual. Thank you to our viewers. Thank you to everyone that's watching. And then we're going to hop into last week.
If everyone, like and comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe.
Recommend it to people. If you're like, hey, I know 1 to 3 people that actually like NASCAR, and I may or may not. You should recommend it to us.
And we're going to be doing some promotions for golf leading up to the Masters on April 8th. So definitely check out our golf content as well.
Yes. So the next few weeks is going to be big. So next week is going to be for NASCAR. You've got the dirt race at Bristol, which who the heck knows how that's going to go for fantasy.
I'm excited.
I don't know. I'm excited to watch it, period. But as far as fantasy goes, I'm just going to throw my hands up and say I don't know. But if you follow us on Twitter, I'll be tweeting stuff about that throughout the week.
Cool.
At Pin DFS, probably also at TR Parker 10 DFS. No DFS at the end, but just TR Parker 10. But I'll probably be just tweeting a bunch about that. We'll have a show as well next week. But as we get closer to that, who knows? But then also the Masters for our PGA content will be huge. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting approach to it. I don't know when they release prices for that, but
it'll probably be early. The Masters starts on April 8th. I'm guessing pricing will come out probably the Saturday beforehand. So
I wouldn't be surprised if it released sometime during the week.
Yeah,
but the games itself, like the contest on DraftKings, have already
the 3 biggest.
They've been up for a while.
Yeah, they're gonna have a $100 millionaire maker, a $10 millionaire maker. And then I believe a $4,400 millionaire maker. So
yeah, so those of you that have a $4,400 just hanging around, go ahead and get your entries in.
It might also be like a 16 max, so whatever 16 times 4,400 is,
that's
a lot of dollars.
Yeah. Anyways, nonetheless, so everyone be watching. Make sure to let other people know about this. We will at some point give free stuff to people.
Yeah.
And if you are one of the 4 people that watches this, then you're in luck.
You stand a good chance.
Yeah. Moving on to Ricky's results from last week. I did not have Martin Truex Jr. and other people did, and so I did not have a good time. We'll talk about it a little bit here in a bit. He was definitely one of those guys that Could have been a gunner, and some people picked his gunners, and I did not pick his gunners, and ruined me.
Yeah.
Logano did really well, finishing second, led a bunch of laps, but the top lineup had both of them.
Also had Harvick in third, yeah.
Yeah, well, I think Hamlin in third.
Or Hamlin in third, yeah. Harvick in sixth.
Yeah, so it was a little bit of a tough week. Custer was the real killer for me. I was in position to not lose all of my money this week, and when Custer was running in 10th, and then he got wrecked, and then he didn't finish 10th. So those are kind of the hard losses that you take. I think Keaton ended up winning a whole $8.
I made $8, yeah. $8, that's profit, $8 profit. So
$8
profit's a profit, we'll take it. I had one decent Truex lineup, I think. Or no, actually it wasn't a Truex lineup. It was, I had 2 and 3 right, and then a handful of other in the mid-teens. So it ended up finishing like 130th in the big tournament. So nothing to write home about. But yeah, ended up profitable week, so I can't complain.
Yep, that's how it goes. It's all about the pool, right? You want to get your pool right, and sometimes the people that you put into your lineups from that pool don't end up being the people who are good.
And I think that speaks to the pools that I'm using. Right, all of our content is driven by Ricky's information. Ricky's making our spreadsheets, Ricky's driving our content, and so I think that speaks to the quality of our content because I'm not using anything other than what Ricky's putting together. And I am profitable on the NASCAR season. I'm up probably about $1,000 actually on the NASCAR season so far, which has been pretty awesome.
But I also don't have the DFS aspect.
Using just Ricky's content. So, like Ricky said, the pool is the most important thing, and then how you individually put that together, I think, is probably the gambling aspect of the DFS.
Oh, 100%. And I mean, I think it depends on what pools you're going in, right? Are you going into mass entry pools where you can get a lot more rosters? You go in small, you go in big. I normally go with 20, and with 20, if you have a 15, 20 person pool, you have to make those hard cuts to get your choices in.
You can't play
sometimes those choices are wrong. Sometimes the choices are right, and hopefully.
One of these weeks, though, your pool is going to be an absolute smash, and we'll be on here. Our first slide will just be a screenshot of Ricky's DraftKings Sunday, and it's going to be a glorious week.
That's the dream.
That is the glorious week. You guys wait for the thumbnail that week. You'll know it from the thumbnail.
And just looking at the results, that's pretty small, but as we see, I did not have. You can see I had 2 Truex lineups.
Okay.
Of all of the Truex lineups. I had a lot of Logano, and my Logano lineups were the only ones that cashed.
And did you have any Hamlin?
I did not have any Hamlin. So I had a lot of Logano, a lot of
2 Hamlin.
Oh, I had 2.
2 Hamlin down there. Hardly any Hamlin.
Sure. Yeah.
Hardly any Bell.
Yeah, I missed the top. Logano led a lot of laps. I had a lot of Logano Keselowski lineups, or a lot being like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And a lot of various ones. But like I said, my biggest problem was I wasn't not having the Truex lineups. I wasn't going to win any of those bigger GPPs.
Yep.
But to just cash out and that type of thing, I just didn't need Cole Custer to get wrecked running 10. Because he went
where
from.
did he end up finishing?
I mean, he went from 30s or something.
Oh, okay.
Far back. And he went from, scoring 40 points to scoring 7 or something like that. Probably 45 points because he started around 30th as well, and so he went from getting both the points and the position differentials of finishing 10th, which was probably about 40 points, to losing all of that.
No points, no place differential.
It ruined me as far as cashing. I wasn't going to win anything because I didn't have any of those lineups with Truex. I mean, I had a couple of those lineups, but none of my lineups with Truex were the best.
Yep.
But if Custer hadn't wrecked, I would have probably been a lot more better. A lot more better is my official description of what it was.
I mean, 30% Custer and him that 10 to 30 whatever swing was huge for your overall finish.
It went not great. So.
So what are we doing to bounce back this week?
We are going to talk about something else.
We're going to talk about the Atlanta track. We're on another mile and a half track.
We are. We're going to talk about overview on scoring. We're going to do overview of scoring first. This is an every week thing. We'll skip through it pretty quick, but we'll talk a little bit about how it affects Atlanta a little bit more. remember, a reminder, 4 ways to score: lap base, finish base, your lap sled, your fastest laps, that's your lap base, points based on your finish, and your position differential. So we can probably move through this pretty quick.
Yeah,
but
let's talk about our average
just
lap
kind
sled
of,
in Atlanta. Yeah,
yeah, this is something that we've introduced a little bit new this week to kind of look at, is your average lap sled since 2018. There's a really good site, driveraverages.com, that has, that compiles a bunch of this stuff. Total
and
lap
free
sled,
site?
and that's all free.
Yeah,
and so you're able to look at it a little bit better. You can see the average finish. You can see how many laps they led, where their average finish has been, that type of thing. I've used it quite a bit for my spreadsheets that I compile. But looking here for like average lap sled, Harvick is somebody that jumps out. He's led. We were looking at it before the last like 3 races. He's led like 150, 300, and 100
I'm gonna say his
laps
average finish here is like
down
second, right?
Yeah, his average finish has been second. And so like we've talked about him last week about whether or not the Stewart Haas cars were a little bit down. I know some people are still saying that they're a little bit weary of him.
Yep.
I thought after last week, with the way he finished 6th, Amarola finished top 10, Custer was running top 10. After that dispelled me of any real worries. I mean, obviously, I think it's fair to worry whether or not he's going to lead 126 laps or more. But like, I think that putting Harvick as your gunner is perfectly fair. I think
your Stewart Haas general concerns have been quenched, because I know that was something we talked about a lot last week.
For me, and obviously last week was a mile versus a mile and a half, so maybe it's a little bit different. But I think based on last week, I'm a lot less worrisome of the performance of those cars.
The Haas cars,
and I mean, just the way the Harvick's ran here, it's very impressive. But I mean, as we go down the list, we're seeing the same people every week. But somebody that I think is going to be really interesting this week is somebody like Larson, who pops on these numbers, and that's before he got into a Hendrick car. That
and he won 2 weeks ago, right?
Exactly, he won 2 weeks ago.
In another 1.5 mile track.
Exactly, and I think it's hard not to put him towards the top of your list. He would be my pick if I were to pick a favorite.
Gun to head, one winner.
Yeah. He would be my one. I think it's really, really hard not to.
I think Keselowski would probably be my one and one.
I don't think that's a bad choice either. I think Keselowski. It'll be interesting though. We'll talk about it a little bit later. I don't have a lot of him, but Logano is an interesting discussion there because he's substantially cheaper than Keselowski, but he hasn't had quite the same success at Atlanta. Okay. So it'll be interesting. We can talk about.
Logano's looked good this year.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting. We can talk about a little bit more about Keselowski versus Logano. I think I only have like 1 or 2 of them in my 20 lineups. But
Keselowski is priced up. I think he's 10-4 this week, so he's a little expensive this week.
Truex again after winning last week, and I haven't had him in a lot of lineups, and it's killed me so far. So I do have him in some lineups this week. I think he's going to pop at some point, or not even at some point. He already did, right? But like,
so now having been a long-term NASCAR fan, how frequent is back-to-back wins a common thing, or is it pretty unheard of to win back-to-back races?
It's pretty regular.
I mean, it is okay.
It depends on the track, but like, it's not unheard of, especially to like. Obviously, I think there's going to be an increased like ownership aspect for DFS side,
definitely.
But like as far as like whether or not it's pretty regular for someone to come out and dominate back-to-back weeks. I don't think that's that irregular.
Okay, so Truex coming out and winning this week wouldn't surprise you.
It wouldn't be super surprising. No.
Okay.
Each week there's
It's not like PGA where you tend to fade the guy that just won because it's like he got his win, he got a big check in his pocket. He's probably going to rest on his laurels for a week.
I mean, could they? Sure, but no, probably not.
Okay.
I think the way to look at it for NASCAR is a little bit more of like each week there's like 6 to 7 guys that are probably going to win.
Okay.
And then maybe for each track there's like 1 or 2 other guys that are like really good at a specific track. But like most of the time it's like one of those 6 to 7 drivers. Like, especially on like
which is usually the guys we end up highlighting here, right?
Yeah. So like that's where it gets hard though. It gets hard because to be successful at DFS, you have to be able to pick which one of those 6 to 7 or 2 of those 6 to 7 guys are going to lead 100 laps plus. Like last week, like got Logano, killed it. But Keselowski, I mean, he ran well, but like he didn't lead 150 laps.
Yeah.
And like Hamlin led 50 laps. I didn't have any Hamlin. Like Truex led a bunch of laps. I didn't have him. And so like you want to be able to pick those guys there, but like week to week it's hard to do. But I wouldn't not do it just because they won last week. Like, that wouldn't be my reason for not picking someone the next week.
Okay. So in PJ, sometimes that is the sole reason for not picking someone.
Well,
right?
and I think there's a lot more variance there, right? Is that, like, it's so much
more mental than the car. I mean, if you have a good car, you probably have a good car week to week, whereas...
And like, there's a difference between, like, I mean, it is very difficult to drive, like, a race, but you drive one race a week, and then you have a week where you're not... Versus like you're doing 4 rounds where you have to be toned in, and then you get 3 days of rest. And
or even more than that, because you're playing a practice round on Wednesday. Maybe you're playing a pro-am.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows what you're doing.
And so, I think it's a little bit more variance, and it's a little bit more track specific as well to look at. But yeah, somebody that jumps out here, and we'll talk a little bit about later, is Kurt Busch, who's led some laps here lately and ran really, really well. I think his average finish is 6th or 7th. It's pretty high. I'll be interested to see. He's only 8,300. He's pretty cheap. I think he's definitely somebody that maybe should be a target.
For a gunner target, you mean?
Maybe just for a regular target. At 8,300, he doesn't have to be a gunner.
Yeah, you could almost fit in 2 of these big names, him, and then go down low for the other.
And I definitely have some of Kurt. Okay. And we'll talk about that here.
Kurt as your third, or as
my
second?
Third. Yeah, not as my second.
Okay.
You'll see later where I pick my potential gunners, and I'm going this week for, I think I have 20 rosters, 18 of my 20. I'm doing 2 of them.
Who are the 2?
2 of them.
Oh,
of the 5 or 6. Okay. Yeah. So we'll talk about.
And then the other 2, you're doing just a single, or you're doing trying to get 3 in?
I'm playing around with those 2, yeah.
I think I'm going to focus very much on the 2 gunner this week, and of my rosters, I think so far I've only built 8, I think, maybe 6. But I am pretty heavy on Truex, I've noticed, in my build fair. So far.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Which is honestly the recency bias.
I mean, 100%, but like you look at like fastest laps, and last year when they raced here, he had the most. Harvick, who even won, only had less than him. And then Clint Boyer, who obviously is retired now, but Chase Briscoe, so you look at like maybe you pump Chase Briscoe up, right? Yeah. So just Stewart Haas in general, though, up there. Kyle Busch again. I don't know if we talked about Kyle Busch yet, but he's starting pretty far back, so he'll be an interesting one. He's pretty expensive, but his average finish is super high, and him starting in 19th really makes him that
upside.
Yeah, Kyle Busch is kind of one of those guys where he hasn't ran as well lately as he once did. 2 years ago, Kyle Busch, if this was 2018, Kyle Busch, and you were like, he's starting 19th, and he is any dollar, you just like hammer him. But he's still ran really, really well, but he's not ran as out of this world as he once did. And so I still think he's a heavy play. He's still one of my gunner choices.
Okay.
But maybe not as heavy. But yeah, it'll be interesting. And then there's Logano, who I talked about earlier, and Blaney, 2 Penske cars who they start a little bit further back, and they haven't had the same success at Atlanta as Keselowski had, but they're substantially cheaper. So Blaney's at 9,200, Logano's at 9,400.
Okay.
And so those are 2 that I'm definitely playing a lot of Blaney. I don't have a ton of Logano.
You like Blaney generally, though. I feel like every week we talk about Blaney.
I do like Blaney every week. He's also starting 10th, though, so like he has a lot of upper mobility. I'm a big Blaney fan. So I'm probably let's be fair. I'm probably a little bit biased.
Everyone lets their biases creep in. But speaking of the Penske cars, I know we talked a little bit about it in the pre-show. There's another Penske driver, Cedric, right? Cedric that doesn't normally write.
So he won the Xfinity Championship last year.
Okay.
I mean, obviously a very good race car driver. He made his first Cup start at the Daytona 500
this year.
This year, which isn't really indicative of anything because it's
a crash fest.
Track. Yeah, it's just a crash fest. This is exactly what it is. And so yeah, that'll be very interesting. He's starting way back.
So is this his second start then after Daytona?
I believe it's his second.
He did Daytona and then
everything else. And he's very interesting because
he's starting at 39.
He's starting at 39. He's $8,600.
86 or 83, I can't remember, but he's pretty expensive.
Yeah, I don't have a ton of him. He has a lot of upward potential, but he's in a Penske car. It should be good, right? But I'm a little bit weary of thinking that he's going to finish above like 20th, right? Because like we've been talking a lot the past few weeks about Chase Briscoe and Ross Chastain. Who are two guys that are in a lot better cars Briscoe is a rookie, and then Chastain for a lot better car than he's been in before. And even then, like they're running, around
in the mid-20s. I mean,
20s to around there.
Lower
and
20s,
so,
even, yeah.
To say that Cindric gets in his first start and comes out and just like finishes top 15. Top 15 would be amazing.
It'd be amazing,
and he would pay for himself
easy.
Well over.
Yeah, 24 points on place differential,
I struggle with it.
How has he ran at 1.5-mile tracks in the past? Do you know?
He finished top 10 at both tracks at Atlanta and Xfinity last year, but he didn't finish great. He finished like 6th and 9th, I believe, I think he finished 9th at the race in 2020 and maybe 6th in 2018.
But he did win the championship for.
But he won, yeah. And I mean, he's ran well at other 1.5 miles. So
and was he in a Penske car for Xfinity?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And and he's done great. He won last week at Vegas or Phoenix, wherever.
Oh, he did.
Wherever they were running.
He won the Xfinity race last week.
Yeah, and so
he's playing some Xfinity DFS, so I can learn these drivers.
As you should, yeah. Tweet at us with any Xfinity tips,
and Ricky will respond.
Tips, questions, etc. I play 20 lineups each week in Xfinity, also cool. Trucks. I'm still working on those. I don't do as in-depth of research, but
your spreadsheet's not as refined.
My spreadsheet is not as refined. I wish it were. My spreadsheet for Cup is getting there.
You guys stay tuned because we're eventually going to turn that spreadsheet into a website.
That's the dream. And so we're I think the thing for Cindric is that I think he definitely is a play, and I think in a GPP is definitely a play. What
will his ownership be like, do you think? Because it's starting 39. Yeah, that's my worry.
I think it's going to be high. And I think he's going to be the shiny toy this week.
Exactly.
I don't know. I mean, maybe.
Which makes me want to own him so bad.
But, I mean, so did everyone else. One thing I'm going to look at, so a couple weeks ago, when our first week at Homestead.
Okay.
Tyler Reddick started 38.
He was 8,500, I believe.
He was 8,500. I'm going to look at his ownership.
And he finished, I don't think you'll be able to go back that far. You can only go back 1 week, I want to say.
I can only go back 1 week?
Yeah. You have,
Oh, no.
You go back more than a week?
We'll see. Let's see.
But yeah, I mean, he was massively owned. I mean, I think he was in like the 40% range. He was massive.
Yeah, that's the right week. But yeah, he was 30 to 40% owned. And I think that, I don't know if it's going to be that much. I don't know.
See, this week I think we actually have another chance for Reddick to be that guy again.
Reddick
is going to be heavily owned again this week. He starts back in the pack. Reddick is a good driver. He's not that expensive this week. I found myself clicking Reddick a lot.
It's hard not to starting that far back because what is he starting 28th? Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. 26 maybe.
We'll have it a
either
little
way,
bit later.
I found myself clicking Reddick a lot this week, which is reminiscent of the week. Actually, our first week, the week that I banked second place. So
we talked a lot about it. I'm apprehensive of Cindric. I think he's somebody who probably the thing is that if he does well, he's probably going to be in the optimal lineup.
Yeah, but because of where he starts at 39. I mean, if he finishes
on the contrarian side.
If you think his ownership's high, I think 100% it makes sense to fade him.
I just don't see him finishing better than 20th.
And if he's going to be heavy owned and he ends up finishing 30th or something and just tanks all those lineups, happy day.
Maybe. I mean, I have my 20 lineups now. Maybe I do some more where I do try to get him in on some other stuff, but I don't see it happening. Maybe if I do a quarter.
I think he's significantly cheaper on FanDuel.
Really?
So if you play on FanDuel, I think he might be close to the min price. I have to go back and look.
Dear God, what is FanDuel
I think
doing?
he is.
Why are we not playing FanDuel? Why am I not playing
cheap
FanDuel?
on FanDuel? FanDuel is interesting. FanDuel, actually, a lot of people say FanDuel's softer. I just tend to focus on one site, and DraftKings is where I've been focusing on.
And it's the one we are. But nonetheless,
it's the biggest.
Moving forward to finishing position, this is something that we've talked about a little bit more. We're going to hone in a little bit more on trying to predict who the gunners are.
Yep.
Especially, I think.
And I think we're both trying to put two in our lineups this week, right?
It's just hard, man.
They're expensive. They're expensive for a reason.
And it's just hard to predict who it's going to be.
Yeah.
Because the thing about it is somebody that expensive, if they don't lead 100 laps, then they're not worth it.
Yeah, they've hurt your lineup. You need them to be the gunner.
So, but you saw it last week, like we talked about. Like, got Logano right, even with 3 or 4 other people that finished decent, still got destroyed by the lineup that had
you need a Truex.
Logano and Truex.
Yeah, you need a Truex.
Because it just is what it is. We're definitely going to be honing in a little bit more on that. Position differential, I still want to hone in a little bit on.
I think that's a good way to round out the rosters.
And I mean, even I think toss-ups, right?
Splitting,
I think
definitely. Your last guy in, and you're down to 2 guys similarly priced. One's 26th and one's 13th. I'll stick in the 26th.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I think that even for your gunner choices, you want to base it in that, but honestly, I'd rather have the gunner that's starting 7th versus the gunner that's starting 2nd. That's why I still have Truex, but this week I don't have as much Truex versus.
Who's starting the poll this week? I know Truex starting 2nd.
Hamlin's starting 1st, and I don't have any Hamlin. It's gonna bite me probably because it normally does. But I don't have any Hamlin.
Okay.
But I mean, he's not super expensive. He's a pretty heavy favorite. I think he's the 4th or 5th.
Do we have
favorite.
the Vegas odds on here as we go through? Okay, cool.
Yeah. But
sticking with our trend of not being in the city, we are 20 miles south of Atlanta in Hampton, Georgia.
Hampton, Georgia. Heck of a place.
I've never been. I might have driven through. It's hard to tell. South, I probably didn't drive through actually.
South. Yeah. You kind of have to go through.
Yeah.
It's if you pass Six Flags and then you keep going.
Didn't make it that far.
Nonetheless.
So what's low banking mean?
It's not low banking. That's from last week. I don't know what you're talking about.
So what kind of banking are we talking about here?
It's just regular banking.
Regular banking.
Which
is the angle of our corners as we come in?
Yeah, exactly. So this week is going to be a lot more normal than last week. We talked a lot about low banking.
And I have in my preliminary research seen quite a bit of talk of the wear and tear on the tires on this course.
It's real bumpy.
So you said it's an older course?
Yeah, they keep threatening to pave it, and NASCAR drivers are like, "No, don't pave it,and then everyone else
why don't they want them to pave it?
Because it's more fun to drive.
Okay.
Because as you're driving, it's a little bit more when you have a freshly paved track, it's going to be faster, but it's going to be there's only going to be one lane that's going to be faster than others. Here you're going to have multiple lanes that are still pretty quick, so it's a little bit more racy than a Texas where they just paved it, and there's only one lane.
So when you say racy, does that mean there's more opportunities for passing? So because there's more than one lane, you have an opportunity for more passing.
Exactly.
Okay. It's not get in the lead and hold it type of tracks.
And so NASCAR Sarcasm had a great post on this week. Let me see it real quick. NASCARgasm.
If you need to follow a good follow, NASCARgasm.
Oh, yep, there it goes. Boom.
We'll put a link in the show notes. That'll be easier.
I got it perfectly on the camera right there. But they posted a fantastic picture that was very funny. They said drivers do not pave Atlanta, and then it's perfect, and this is what it looks like.
Michigan. That's basically Michigan roads.
Well, you can't see it, but a lot of piles. But nonetheless, there's definitely the aspect of it's the older track, and so it's real. It gets there's multiple lines. You can go different places, and it's a lot of fun. So I think that's where the older pavement little bit more tire wear.
So the wear and tear, I guess that means we're gonna have a little more pitting here. I know.
Yeah,
I
you're
read
hoping
earlier
that,
Larson.
your favorite guys don't blow tires.
Okay.
Yeah,
and
I think
it's
probably better for guys that are able to protect their car a little bit better, like Kyle Larson, like obviously Harvick's been able to time and time again, who are able to protect their tires a little bit more. And that, again, that goes to show somebody like Cindric that's making his first start in Cup.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'd want to go towards
Does he have those skills?
Him, where yeah, he may have a really good car, but he doesn't necessarily have those built-in skills.
But hasn't he been doing it in Xfinity? I mean,
yeah, but it's a heavier car. It's different. It's just different. And the thing about it is you could point to all of the guys and be like, didn't they do it in Xfinity?
And haven't they been doing it in?
Yeah,
too?
Because a lot of these guys have been came up running here and they're not able to run it as well as Harvick and Keselowski and Larson.
Yeah, of course.
And so I think that's the big thing here is that you look to guys that have performed well here before, and then that probably indicates who's going to do well this week.
So there really is some course fit or course history that matters.
Exactly. This one, going to go more gunners. Trying to predict the gunners.
Two-gunner lineup, I think we're both
I'm going to get the gunners. I'm going to hit it this week or I'm not, but I'm going to try real hard, and I'm going to either succeed or...
If you're not first, you're last, baby.
Exactly.
Which is honestly how GPPs work.
Yeah, exactly. And so, looking at your favorites to win, potential gunners, there are people we've talked about again.
Okay.
There are people we've talked about again. Harvick, Truex, Larson, Keselowski. Then Hamlin's creeping up there. I don't have any Hamlin. It'll probably bite me, but I mean he's done well here, but not great, right?
No.
He hasn't led huge number of laps, but he has performed well.
And why does he have the pole? So I know we don't have qualifying. He didn't win last week, so why isn't Truex starting first?
He finished pretty high up there. So
and his previous week,
it's it's half of a point. It's half of a point, so a quarter off of where you finished, and then a quarter off of the rankings for fastest lap or something weird like that.
Okay, so he's pretty high then in the season-long standings. Yeah. He finished whatever third or fifth last week.
He finished third, yeah.
And then the other quarter on fastest, he's been pretty quick. Okay, that makes sense because I was just wondering how he got the pull over Truex.
Yeah,
next week we're gonna have actual qualifying,
qualifying
practice and qualifying to talk about.
Well, actually, heat races even better.
Okay, so
even better
things I am learning about. We are all gonna be on.
We're
dirt.
all learning about it.
It's gonna be awesome next week.
We're all learning about it. I am jazzed. We have. I think DFS. I think that next week will be the most exciting as far as being a fan of NASCAR, but also the most, I don't know what to do as far as DFS goes. We're definitely going to try to figure it out.
Fun to watch.
Yeah, we're definitely going to try to figure it out, but who knows? These guys are trying to test anyway.
There's guys playing this weekend.
A lot of them are running super late models this weekend. I mean Corey LaJoie ran a crate modified.
Dudes are running trucks. I mean, it's
a bunch of people are running trucks. Truex is running trucks. Harvick is maybe. Larson definitely is. Bubba's running trucks.
Trying to figure out this track.
Everyone's trying to get time in because, the first time they're really going to hit the track is for the heat races on Saturday.
So, does the Cup Series not traditionally have these other kind of races, like a dirt race and things like that?
This is the first year. So,
this is the first dirt race. Cool. I knew I was a good time to start being a fan.
Yeah, exactly. Trucks have raced at Eldora the past 2 or 3 years.
But never
that's been the only truck race that's been for trucks. It's a big
the
change.
Roval and the streets, are those all pretty new for the NASCAR scene?
So traditionally, a traditional NASCAR schedule would have 2 road courses.
Okay.
And then super speedways and short tracks.
Yep. Which is our mile and a half, 1.5.
And so this year the big change is they're running 6 road courses as opposed to 2.
Okay.
And I guess the past few
years. Which is how we got Daytona
3,
Road, we got Charlotte Roval.
Yeah, exactly. So they started running Charlotte Roval in 2019, and that was a big change. And then they ran Daytona Roval last year, but that was a lot of the reason was because of the COVID stuff, and they needed a place to run, and Daytona was like a
Willing
place
to
that they
host.
could run.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so so like there, and then but then they added a few more, including like Circus of the Americas in Austin.
Okay.
And so like they're up to 6.
And that one's actually going to be actually on a street. That's a full like outside on a street race.
It's
on a track.
No, it's a regular track. Yeah.
It's not the Formula One shut down
the
city.
Indy cars, which we don't talk about here, but Indy cars are running the streets of Nashville, and that's going to be
pretty cool.
Awesome.
That's
going to be
pretty
very cool. And they're
Kelly and I were vacationing somewhere when they did. I think it was in Tampa, maybe. And they had Formula One cars like on downtown St. Pete.
It's probably Indy cars, but yeah.
In downtown St. Pete.
Indy
It was
cars,
like real cool.
Yeah, they're very, very cool. And it starts soon, and Jimmy Johnson's running.
All right, that's a different show though. Woo!
I don't know. But nonetheless, yeah, no, this is a really cool year to jump in. Both for
it's a lot more exciting because I noticed I was getting bored at the 267 just 1.5 miles of circles. I think that it does get a little dull. There's not a lot of Ricky's giving me a hard time. As a long-time fan, Ricky, but as a new fan, like the last 50 or 60 laps were super exciting, and I think we talked about it last week. I would make the race 60 laps and call it a day. But I think adding like the road courses, adding a dirt course, that kind of stuff will make it exciting for maybe the more casual fan like me.
I mean, I agree. I mean, I don't love your categorization of everything else, but no, I mean, I'm a huge fan of both road courses and short tracks, and I would prefer if most, if not all, NASCAR races were there. I'm very interested to see how the dirt goes. It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be fun though. But so
a non-traditional winner would be fun for DFS.
Yeah, it's just gonna be Kyle Larson. Like
it's just gonna be Kyle Larson.
I mean,
he's just gonna win this week. He's gonna win next week. Just go ahead and lock Kyle Larson in for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I mean, he's gonna be like a 2-1 favorite.
Until he's 14K. Like
he's gonna be like unless next week, honest to God, he's going to be a 2-1 favorite, and unless he's like starting outside the top 10, he's going to be like $15,000. Like he just is.
So he came up running dirt. Is that?
I mean, he ran dirt last year. He won like 80 races in dirt last year.
All right.
He literally like he was running sprint cars, and then he jumped up into late models and just won those too. It just doesn't make any sense. He's so good, especially on dirt. But
which is why Richard Petty gave him another chance.
No,
Is that gave him a chance?
Rick
Hendrick gave him a chance. I knew someone gave him another chance.
But nonetheless, so yeah, we'll talk about that next week. We'll definitely put together some interesting, some value add takes to where we're not just saying we think Kyle Larson's going to win,
and we're not just throwing darts
even
to the other
way. We think just Kyle Larson's going to win. Just put him in. Just put him in the top.
Lock in Kyle Larson and then throw 5 darts.
Put him up and then throw 5 darts. Nonetheless,
ship
but
50 grand.
Additional odds to win. I thought this was interesting. Kyle Busch is at 10-1, so still have there as usual. Blaney is a little bit lower than some weeks, 16-1. I think he was a little bit higher last week. I think he was like 12-1.
Okay.
So and at
someone you don't have up here that I see is Bowman. I believe is also 22-1. I know you like
that
Bowman.
Sounds right.
Normally.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Bowman this week?
I mean, I like him a lot. I don't have a ton of him because I'm trying to remove myself from
fandom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's.
What about Bell? Where do you know
14th.
what Bell's odds are this week?
They're not. They're like maybe like 40-1.
Okay.
They were.
Like
they were right.
Right?
They were right above Kurt Busch when I was looking, or like right below, a little bit higher than Kurt Busch's when I was looking at them. Chris Bell is super interesting. Starting 8th, super cheap though.
Yeah.
7,800.
He's in the sevens on DK.
And I think he's super undervalued still.
And he's a rookie, right? He's already the first time
he's second year, but he moved to Gibbs this year. This is his first year at Gibbs. I mean, this is his first year in like the premier ride, and
he seems to be doing well. He's like 6th and 7th and 11th, I believe, are his last 3 finishes.
I just don't see him not
top 10-ish.
I just don't. Yeah. And I'm actually thinking about how much
are you pretty heavy on Bell?
I should have got into him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not as heavy as you wanted to be.
Yeah. I mean, I think I have probably like 4 or 5 out of 20.
I guess we'll see here in a little bit. Do we have your roster, your breakdown this week? Okay,
we
cool.
do. So running into just the top 5 cars, how they performed based on where they finished in Atlanta since 2019, where they're starting on Sunday.
AKA Ricky's proprietary model.
Ricky's proprietary model that I tell you exactly how it is. So
Pin and
not
Pole
really
DFS.
But you look at it, and it's going to be a lot of the guys we just talked about. Literally the guys we just talked about. And Tyler Reddick.
The order is a little bit different though than I would have thought. I mean, Kyle Busch, he hasn't been popping to the top of our list that we've had. He's been more of the bottom in terms of laps led, finishing here.
Yeah. But he's starting 19th.
I'm sorry, bottom of the good guys. Yeah, bottom of our gunner pool. But I guess that 19th place starting really boosts.
I mean, with the average finish of, if he finishes 5th, he gets 53 points before you talk about whether or not he leads laps or
and he has to if
lap.
he finishes 5th, he would have had to get some finishes.
He's probably fastest lap. Yeah. I mean, he probably if he finishes just 5th, he probably still had 20 fastest laps, which is another 10 points.
And he may have let a couple depending on how pitting works
as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's just if he hits his average, he's won. He's finished really, really well here.
But he hasn't been as well this season, right? I mean, Kyle Busch, we haven't seen a top.
Finished fourth
right?
in 2 weeks. He finished fourth
in
2 weeks ago.
Homestead?
At Vegas.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely a question of that team's not as good at I don't think he's performing as well as he did, like I said, 2 years ago, Kyle Busch. But I think he's still a top 5 car, if not a top 10. And starting 19th. Even at 10-7, I mean, he definitely needs to finish top 10.
Yeah.
Even remotely give you a chance getting in, probably top 5. But I think there's a good shot of him finishing top 5.
That makes sense. I mean, one thing I've been thinking about, I know we talked about a little bit last week, is some of the more middling cars were kind of moving up to have that chance to finish. Traditionally we may have thought of them more as 30 place cars. Maybe they have a chance to move into 20 place. There's, I guess, more parity is kind of how we thought about it last week.
That's what we talked about. Yeah.
So I guess if that is true, then does that also mean that some of our average finishing data, when we're thinking about guys that have traditionally finished well, maybe we should be thinking that some of that data needs to be skewed down? Because if the bottom guys are coming up, what's to say the top guys either are still on the same trajectory, or that there wasn't a mix-up at the top, or they aren't getting pushed down, so that parity really is a flattening of the top and a push-up of the bottom?
I'm not sure we're saying that yet.
Okay. We still are really seeing the top, 8 guys.
Maybe, I still think we're seeing, I think the top 10 every week is pretty consistent. Maybe you want to talk about whether or not that top 10 is how that is moving within that.
It's hard to move within
right?
the 10.
Stuart Haas, like I said, I think Stuart Haas, having 3 solid top 10 cars, even though Custer didn't finish top 10, but solid all-day top 10 cars. I think that showed me that I don't have to worry that much about them.
That was one of our question marks last
exactly.
week. Yeah.
But that being said, maybe that means that Stuart Haas is more of a 5th to 10th place team consistently versus, or at least for Harvick, because Harvick has been so good the past couple of years. And so, maybe he ends up being, a 5th to 7th place car as opposed to a 1st to 3rd.
And that's a big swing, though, in building rosters, right?
It is. It is definitely something.
That's the difference between putting him in all my rosters and probably not putting him in any of my rosters at this price tag.
And I think it's something that you definitely, it's hard to know right now.
Whether it's just variance of 3 races.
As we get further along in the year, I think we'll definitely have a more definitive answer, I guess you could say.
You wouldn't be shocked if he won this week.
Would you be
shocked if he finished 8th? Which one would surprise you more, 1st or 8th? Neither one?
Probably 8th, but it's close.
Okay.
Neither one would surprise me a lot.
But about if 1st or 12th?
12th would surprise me.
To the 12th would be a surprise? Okay.
Yeah. I don't see him finishing outside the top 10.
Range of outcomes in DFS is something that I probably, especially in NFL, I probably need to spend more time thinking about. And I think here, range of outcomes, it seems in NASCAR is more narrow. I mean, these guys, barring crashes, crashes obviously throw all this into a, we saw Al Mirola kill Ricky's lineups 3 weeks straight. But
pick one each week.
But range of outcomes, it seems like a lot of these guys have pretty tight range of outcomes, barring the unforeseen wrecks.
I don't. Week to week, it's different, widths, but
the
there definitely is track to track,
Yeah.
it's definitely different, but there definitely is a very, especially on mile and a halfs, where there definitely is like a margin for, where you expect somebody to finish week to week, and like if they finish outside of that, you're pretty surprised. The person that popped up here that I'm still a little bit surprised on is Kurt Busch. Yep. We talked a little about him earlier. His average finish here is 6th. That's super good.
And he's super cheap.
He's super cheap. It's somebody who, I don't have him as much as I probably should have in my 20 roster or my 20 lineups, and like I don't know. I go back and forth on whether or not like I want more or I want to stay where I am, because I think he's like in like 11th, like that's not a bad starting spot. But there's not as much upside, but like
pretty solid.
Yeah, I don't foresee him finishing outside of 11th or 12th, around there. Yeah. But if he does, like he's not going to kill you at 8,300. But like you definitely to win. You definitely need him to finish higher, which he could.
And is his upside? Obviously, I was finished 6th.
I think it's top 5. He's led laps. I'll be interested to see how well he does. I don't have, like I said, as much of him as I probably should.
So one name up there stands out to me from our very first show, Tyler Reddick, 8,400, starting in 29th. I believe the first week we did a show, he was 8,500, starting in 33rd, 34th.
He was pretty high up there.
So starting in the 30s.
He was like 38,
and he was like in our jam hammer, put him in all your lineups. I think I went like 70%. He ended up being owned like 40 or 40%, so I was a little over the field. But I mean, this almost seems like it's Tyler Reddick week again, right? I mean,
it feels like it not the same, because Homestead, for whatever reason, just seems like the track where him and RCR just come together. And but that being said, I do definitely believe I have a ton of Tyler Reddick. I think average finish of 16th is probably low.
Yep.
And even if he only finished 16th at 8,400,
he still makes our list. Yeah.
He's still up there, right? Like.
Why is he starting 29th? Did he crash last week, or what pushed his starting position back?
He had some type of problem last week. I don't remember off the top of my head.
But he had a poor finish last week that pushed his starting. Yeah, because he didn't start that high last week. He was in the teens. I thought he
was pretty decent last week. And that's another interesting thing. Like early in the season, like you'll get a lot of like this variance where like he had a couple bad weeks. Like before Homestead, like we said, he was in the 30th, so his points are super low, even though he had that second place finish. So, like, one bad week, like, he'll end up starting 29th when, he's somebody that you can, like, look at and be like, he's not a 29th
he's a top 15
car. He's a top 15 at the least, like, guy.
Yeah.
And the way that the RCR cars are running, I don't see them finishing outside the top 15, barring, like, any problems.
And that's like a lock-in, right? I mean, it's almost a lock-in.
I have him in probably... this week
we'll see Ricky's ownership here in a minute.
I instituted a no more than 10 lineups rule this week.
So looking back, I have been surprised at how some people have built lineups. Not NASCAR specifically, but looking back last week at the guy that won the PGA, he had one player at 78 in his 150 entries. He had a 78% owned and a 50% owned. Two guys at 78. Justin Thomas at 78%.
I mean. He picked right.
And Chris Smash. I mean, I was just floored to put in 150 entries and have 78% of a player. Like, my risk on my heart hurts. That's a lot of a player.
That's a lot of
Even
risk.
doing 20 and putting in 15 Reddicks. I mean, that feels like a lot. Right?
Every time I do it, I feel good or bad. So, like,
Amarola
first couple weeks,
right?
y'all have seen it. Amarola killed me one week. The first week, I mean, I didn't do great, but I did decent. And I had a lot of Newman, but he did really well. Other people did like crappy, but like I think I had like 12 or 13 of Newman that week, and he did great. He was basically the only person I picked right. And so yeah, it's literally like one of those things where like you put them in, and like you're just accepting that if they do bad, you're going to win $0.
Yeah.
And if you're okay with that, then like. It's okay.
Like building rosters, you're like, I'm just going to X out whatever. Tyler Reddick, I'm just not playing him this week. And if Tyler Reddick finishes top 10, like, I'm just going to lose this week. That is a bad play. I don't recommend that play. But it's the same
that.
type of thing. Like, someone at the top. Like, I just don't like Harvick this week, and I'm just going to not play Harvick this week.
Like I talked about last week. I didn't play. I had 2 lineups of Truex.
Yeah.
And, like, I wasn't heavy on him, and he was the one that killed me. And, if you gave me 5 choices on who I thought would have been the gunner, Truex would have probably been 5th or 6th, maybe.
Yeah, which reflected in how your lineup shook out.
And it depends on how many rosters you have. Like, if you're doing 150, sure you could get if he's your 5th or 6th guy, you could get a decent
sprinkle
amount
of
with
them,
him.
right? Yeah.
But like when you only have 20 rosters or lineups, you have to make choices, especially if you want diversity for like the guys you really do like.
And you want to be able to hit the perfect combination. So going back to the PGA with Big T's, millionaire maker lineup where he had 78%, I think it was 78% JT. Whatever, he had 2 golfers, 78% and a 58% or 50%. The only way he was going to end up with, or not the only way, but the way he gave himself the best shot to end up with that perfect combination was because he had so many 78 and 50. Those guys ended up with so many combination of his rosters that he ended up with the perfect lineup that he ended up actually winning 1st and 2nd. But that's beside the point. But by narrowing his player pool enough, he gave himself enough combinations of the guys he liked that when they smash, and we talked about them before, when those guys smash, you have that chance to put up a number 1, ship the top dollars, which is where all the money is.
And the thing is like he was also okay with Justin Thomas missing the cut.
And just bricking.
If you, like, I don't think there's any problem with, and the week that I had Amarola 75% of our roster, there was nothing wrong with that, and I was okay with it. Yeah. And the fact that he did crash and ruined all of those, like, I'm not mad about, like, I'm obviously not happy about it, but, like, I would do the same thing again because I still think he's a good play. I still think he is the better play than a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to be a little bit more timid, not timid, but, like, probably timid, on, like, just full-on pumping, like,
slightly
1 to 2 people. But I'm not sure I should be. Like, we'll see as we go along. I have days
where,
hit
like, Almirola early, your view on whether or not you should be 75% of the player.
Right? I'd be like, it's fine.
You should always be maxing your best plays, right? Yeah.
Why wouldn't you? But so like as we move on, like these are your top value plays, but like they're very much in the same wheelhouse of this. And Newman
Eric Jones
is somebody
is the only one I see here different.
I'll talk again. I have Jones this week because I talked so much bad stuff about him. I like Eric Jones a lot. For the record, just full looking at the camera.
For you, Eric Jones.
I like Eric Jones a lot. I think he is a great driver. I think he got a very raw deal at Gibbs. That being said, I was very apprehensive at the beginning of this year how well he would be able to run in the 43 because over the past few years they have not ran great. They've been a 20th place car, and 2 weeks ago him running 10th just made me go, okay, that's fine.
Burn some rosters.
I think that now, I don't think he's a hammer play. I definitely have a good percentage of him at $7,000. I don't think he's a, you have to have him in your rosters type guy. But at starting 22nd, I think he's definitely, his average finish is 15th, which again, a little bit skewed. Obviously, that says Vegas. This is Atlanta.
But he's sort of one that he fits into the bill because his price tag at $7,000. As you slot in guy 4, guy 5. Yeah. And he's sort of the one that fits salary wise at the
Which is exactly what happened.
Yeah.
And Newman is very similar in that, starting a little bit further back.
Chastain's another guy. Sticking down there at that price tag.
Yeah, exactly.
Briscoe is another one at that price tag.
So as we move on,
how do you feel about Suarez this week? I know you see rest top 10 included Suarez.
I like Suarez.
I stuck Suarez in a fair amount when I was
He's
building.
scary a little bit because he's starting 25th.
I think so, and I think that's about his upside, right? So
I don't believe that.
You think Suarez has more upside?
I think his upside is closer to 15th.
Okay.
And that's why I'm betting on it. But I don't have a ton of him. I probably have 1 to 2 of him.
Okay.
I just end up
cheap.
finding myself into other people more.
Okay.
Especially Chastain.
Is there anyone else sub 6K that you like?
I liked Busher right at 6K.
Busher 6, yep.
He's starting a little high, but I still like him nonetheless.
And we saw him at
We saw the way he ran at Homestead.
Won a stage at Homestead.
Yeah, and he ran so well. And in the way that Stenhouse has ran his teammate car, that's not his teammate. He replaced him at Roush. Anyways, the way that not even remotely close. I'm trying my hardest. But no, the way Buescher's ran so far, I mean, I think it's something that you definitely have to put, you definitely have to look at him. And for that price, like, if he finishes I think he's starting 17th.
He's starting the teams.
And if he finishes 15th, he pays for himself at $6,000.
And you think he's a driver that can do that?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I mean, he's shown so far that he can do that. Even better. Like, I mean, the thing about it is like, he at Homestead, yeah, he only finished 19th, but he runs so well. They're like, if he finished as well as he obviously ran, I mean,
he led a ton of laps. He won a stage.
Really well.
I still don't know why DraftKings doesn't award points for winning a stage. I haven't figured that one out.
I agree. I said that from the get go, but nonetheless.
Yeah.
But so like Buescher is somebody that I'm big on. We'll talk about it here in a minute. But just going to the gunner predictions, these are my top 5 gunner predictions for Atlanta.
In any particular order, or?
No, because Kyle Larson would be first.
Okay.
No, I mean,
gun to head, Larson's number 1.
Yeah, I have a lot. I mean, I have a lot of all the top 5, really. A little bit more of the top 4. I have not quite as much Truex. We'll see here in a minute.
I've got enough Truex for both of us.
Larson. I have a lot of Larson.
I'll let you know how it goes Sunday.
A lot of Larson. Kyle Busch starting 19th is really attractive because he does have that position differential, but it scares me a little bit on the gunner side that maybe he isn't able to quite.
But it's a
get
long
up
track.
front.
I guess we haven't talked about it being a long track,
laps.
so long race.
Yeah. So it's a little bit longer than
gives you a little more opportunity
weeks.
to maneuver up front, maybe. I don't know if that's true or not.
I mean, no, absolutely. And we've seen good cars get to the front. We've just not seen Kyle Busch get to the front. A couple weeks ago at Vegas, like, he ran so bad at the beginning of the race, and he figured it out and finished 4th, I think. But like, it took him the entire race to get there.
We've got 300 laps to do it.
And as far as that goes, and the thing about it is, the thing that we were talking about Kyle Busch is that, if he finishes 4th, he is as good as a gunner. Like, he is as good as if he led 100 laps. I don't know if that's true, but leading 100 laps is 25 points. If Kyle Busch goes from 19th to 4th, which is 15, I mean, it's not as much.
He's got some fastest laps in there and whatever.
And so, he definitely, even if he isn't able to get up, but if the thing about it is if he is able to get up there and lead 50, 100 laps, then he's going to be in the optimal lap every week.
Because his tag's low. So one thing I want to talk about up here, you say Ricky's verdict, almost all my lineups start with at least 2 of these drivers, and I agree. Or at least 2 guys I think can be gunners. I think that's a good way to do that. Are you starting, when you do your build, with your 2 up top guys, or are you ever starting the other way? Looking at some lower price guys you like.
I have. So the way that I start is I create my player pool.
Okay.
And then
so you just start Xing out the guys you don't like at all.
Okay. And then I move them all over into my pool spreadsheet.
Okay.
And I have all of my selections, and then I have my normal pool, my gunner pool.
Oh, so you do break it down, okay.
And so past weeks I've been a little bit more, make sure we get to 50,000, get people I like here and there. This week I've been a lot more focused on making sure I get at least 2 gunners.
Put the 2 gunners in and then fill out your other 4.
I literally went in and I did 3 lineups with Harvick, Busch. I did 3 lineups with Harvick, Larson. I did 3 lineups with Harvick, Busch. I did 3 lineups with Larson, Keselowski. I did 3 lineups with Keselowski, Harvick.
So you did your permutation basically.
I only did 2 lineups with Truex, but literally I mean, I don't know how many.
What's 5 choose 2? I don't know what the permutation is, but
and so I have 3 lineups with Harvick, Larson. I have 3 lineups with Larson, Busch.
Combination, not permutation. Order doesn't matter. 8th grade math, y'all.
And but yeah, so I definitely have different rotations of that, and then I filled in from there, and I tried to not put the same people in every lineup to where I had a little bit of differentiation.
As soon as one person dies, he kills. Yeah.
It probably still overlaps a little bit more than I would like to. But
and we'll see in a minute who's your heaviest. But do you know offhand who's your heaviest gunner?
Gunner?
I know we'll see in a minute.
No, they're probably all the same.
About
like
25% all split, or 30%
a little bit more
all
than that,
maybe.
Probably Larson a little bit heavy, but probably I think he has 8 out of 20. But so this is my gunner pool. I don't have all of these because, like I said, I don't have any Denny. I don't
Do you
have
any Chase? Okay.
I have one Logano.
Because I have a little bit of Chase. I noticed he was someone I was clicking. I think because
he's somebody
his
who
price
could be
tag is low.
Different. He's starting 5th, so he has a little bit of upside if you think he's going to be the guy that gets up there and leads laps and wins. I would definitely pick him over Denny, personally.
Okay.
I just, with 20 lineups, I just have to make cuts. But these
fair.
These are the people that I have designated as my gunners that I would be perfectly okay.
This is what your data shows the best drivers here.
Exactly. And these are the people that, when you're looking at, their previous laps led at both intermediate tracks, mile and a halves, and Atlanta specifically, these are the guys that pop up over and over again. I don't think any of these guys are outside the top 6 on at least one of them. One of those two.
Any of these guys winning wouldn't surprise you.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And that's who you want to
in your gunner pool. Yeah.
In your gunner pool. And like I said, I'm picking 2 out of these. And there's some really attractive people in the 9,000s. Truex at 9,600 is super attractive. Honestly, Logano, who I don't have a lot of at 9,400, is also very attractive.
So just looking at these price tags, because I believe it's $8,300 a driver. What if you start a lineup, Elliott, Truex, Logano?
You have $0 left.
I mean, you don't have a ton. Let me just see what that gives you real quick. Because, I mean, it's...
I'm okay with doing one.
What does it leave you if that's what you go for?
So the bottom 3?
Yeah, bottom 3. You go Elliott, Truex, Logano. So you get 3 effective gunners. And then you're left with almost nothing. I'm guessing you're left with maybe $6,500 a driver or something, give or take.
We have 3 more.
That's what I mean. I'm guessing about
$7,000.
You have $7,000 a driver, so you can easily fill
Eric
it out
Jones,
there.
Ross Chastain.
I mean, Suarez if you had to, or Dylan if you had to, someone down there. So I mean, how do you feel about that? Do you think? I mean, is that a
I don't
viable
hate
strategy?
it. I definitely have. I have a Keselowski, Larson, Blaney lineup that I like quite a bit.
And Blaney's in the
Blaney's
8
at
range?
9,200.
Okay, so
he's like basically right below it. I just cut it off here because I have Blaney in a few regular lineups, so I didn't call him a gunner. That's basically the only real reason why I don't have him in this lineup.
He provides value outside of just leading laps.
We'll flop down. He's starting 10th, so he adds a little bit more value.
Yep.
So yeah, I definitely have a few of those that I think are pretty decent.
I feel like we've left Will Almirola burn me again down here at least 3 to 4 weeks. Almirola is just going to be your bane every week, isn't he? Every week.
He did really well last week, and I'm very appreciative. I really like Eric Almirola, and I think he's a great driver.
He seems like a good driver, yeah, exactly. If he can keep the car on the course.
And it's not even been his fault. Like, it's not even been like it's just been...
He didn't overdrive a corner. He hasn't done whatever. Well, he got pushed into the corner last week.
Last week he finished okay.
2 weeks ago.
Problem. I don't know exactly what happened, but anyways, nonetheless, I just going down here. Custer is somebody who, like I said, burned me last week. So will Custer burn me again? But starting 27, Stuart Haas, which we talked about, whether or not they'll burn us again, but like I don't think they will. And but starting 27th at 7,600. That's a lot of upside. If you finish it like last week, like literally, he got up to he was running 10th last week when he.
If he could finish 10th,
he finished 10th. Yeah, last week
he'll be in the winning lineup.
Last week, if he finished 10th at even less,
Ricky might have been in the winning lineup.
I would. I would have been better. I would have made a lot more money than I did, which was not a lot. And yeah, Christopher Bell is somebody that we talked about. Starting 8th, but
finished amazing recently. 7th, 6th, and 11th. Really I think is his recent finishes. So.
And so he's definitely somebody who I think could, push for a top 5 or better. And 7,800. I mean, he's definitely got the low side in that if he finishes 20th, then you're losing a lot of points. But you get 8 points. But if you finish, even if he finishes 8th, like he's paying for himself. Like, I mean, he probably
At
needs to finish a little bit
7,800,
higher,
he needs
but
to
still.
do some fastest laps and whatever. But
Yeah, I mean, but like
he wouldn't kill your rosters.
Eight is it would be 32 points for him, which would be a pretty good day for 7,800.
Yeah, that's fair.
Amarola, you know, somebody again that I was talking about, I think can be a top 10 guy. Di Benedetto, again we've talked about every week, who is somebody who I think, you know, can be a top 15 to top 10. And 8,100 is pretty cheap.
I feel like we've gone back to Di Benedetto every week, and he has not.
Yeah, you still haven't learned how to pronounce his name.
Di Benedetto. Benedetto.
There you go.
Sorry, Matt.
Di Benedetto. Yeah. No.
I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Ricky's gonna entertain y'all.
He's definitely a guy that, like, you know, I think could finish top 10 or better. And 8,100 is pretty cheap. Kurt Busch, we talked about, has done really, really well here. He definitely doesn't have the position differential upside, but, like, definitely has the upside of, like, he could finish top 5. Tyler Reddick, we talked about. Cindric, we talked about again. I think could go either way. I think either he's going to be in the optimal lineup or he's going to lose a lot of people a lot of money. Alex Bowman, somebody that Keaton talked about. I think he's a little bit expensive, but he's definitely a guy that I think could get into the top 10 or top 5 and on a given day run really, really well. He's ran really, really well the past few weeks. He's had just a little bit of bad luck that have caused him not to finish as well. So he's definitely a guy that, you know, could get up there. Byron is somebody who I don't have a lot of, but has ran really, really well. And at 9th, he's a little expensive, so you definitely need him to get in the top 5, which he definitely could after he showed at Homestead. And even Vegas, he ran really, really well. So I think it's definitely something that could happen. And then, like I said, Blaney is somebody who I have quite a bit of, even at 9,200, who's really, you know, a quasi-gunner here. And probably Byron the same, who, you know, is somebody who could get up there and lead laps. Maybe not guaranteed, but almost kind of like a mini gunner. I would probably put the bottom 3 here, Bowman, Byron, Blaney, as somebody who, like, you know, if you were, like, you know, getting good odds to who could be a gunner, but, like, still has a reasonable possibility, those would be guys that you'd want to bet on. And then under 7,500, you know, these are guys that, you know, fill out a bunch of rosters, and I like a bunch of them, honestly. We talked a little bit already about we talked about Noon, we talked about Jones, we talked about Chastain. Chastain, somebody at 6,600. He started 21st. I still think his upward, his upward possibility is closer to 10th, if not better. And I mean, Kurt Busch is his team car, so it's somebody who's ran well here. I think he's somebody that could significantly outperform 21st, but even if he doesn't significantly outperform 21st, if he gets into, you know, the mid-teens, he probably pays for himself at 6,600.
Yep.
I mean, and Suarez is somebody who, you know, again, like, I'm finding a lot of my rosters, but I have a hard time putting Suarez in instead of Ross Chastain.
And that's something I think I wanted to talk about here, and something I think I'm going to go back in the rosters I've already built, because I found myself clicking Suarez when I had $100 extra. I probably should have. I had debated clicking Chastain, but I deferred to that 4 extra points of point differential, place differential. Whereas if it's really not that probable that Suarez finishes 4 points higher than Chastain, I'm better off just choosing Chastain anyways.
Yeah, I mean, and I think the thing is,
if the upside really is 10 on Chastain, it's not on Suarez, right?
I think it's I think for Suarez, I think the thing is, like, again, we've talked about it a little bit here for Suarez, is that he's in a new team,
Yep.
so it's a little bit harder to gauge, like, where an expected finish is for them. But that being said, I think it's probably around 15th. I haven't seen anything that shows me otherwise. I think Suarez is a great driver.
Which one finishing top 5 would surprise you more? Top 5.
Top 5? Definitely Suarez.
Okay. What about top 10?
Still Suarez.
Still Suarez, okay.
But, like, if you told me both finished top 15, I'd be like, okay.
Normal, nothing.
Yeah.
Okay.
the thing about it is like Suarez for Trackhouse, for Team Trackhouse, who Suarez drives for,
Which is the Pitbull team?
Yeah, this is the Pitbull team, exactly.
Wow.
If they finish 15th, it's a good day. And if they finish 10th, it's a great day, right?
Yeah.
And so, but for like Chastain, who drives for Ganassi, like it'll be like a fine day if he finishes 15th, and it'll be a good day if he finishes 10th. And that's not to say that week to week one car might be better or worse, because I mean Suarez is running. I think Trackhouse is running RCR cars. They are running RCR cars, and so like we've talked about Austin Dillon and Tyler Reddick, who we think are top 10 drivers, right there around there, if not better. But like with the new team, they might not be getting as good cars, that type of thing. Like until they prove to me otherwise, it's exactly the same thing I was saying about Eric Jones, right? Until he proves to me otherwise, I don't think he's going to be better than 20th. And then he proved me otherwise, and now I'm like, I don't know, he's probably 15th or better. I don't know.
Until he starts showing up in the top 10 again.
And yeah, exactly. And so Eric Jones is somebody that I have a lot of, and but like Austin Dillon is somebody there, 13th, so not great as far as like upside. And Chris Buescher is the two guys here that jump out because they don't have as low of a starting spot are Buescher and Dillon.
Yep.
And Buescher at 6,000, I found myself finding a lot of, because I think he's the guy that we talked about earlier that's going to be able to, get into, even if he finishes 15th to 20th. Like, if he finishes 13th, then he's probably in optimal lineups. If he finishes 15th, he may be in optimal lineups. If he finishes 17th, it's still pretty good.
And he lets you do so much. He's so cheap.
And so it's definitely somebody there. Another person that I don't have on here that like is a similar situation but starting a little bit too high for my personal taste is Stenhouse.
Okay. He's like 12
who is
or 13.
not Buescher's teammate, even though I said it earlier.
Starting in the 12.
Yeah, I think he's starting 12th. Yeah, that sounds right. Who is still pretty cheap. And it's just a little bit scary because I think
he's finished pretty well recently.
I think 10th to 12th is his upside, maybe 9th.
And he's been hitting that upside. That's the thing, and so that's why his starting position is higher.
Maybe you do go for him. I
tend not to like people that are hitting their upside. I prefer to have people that have been hitting on the lower end of their spectrum. Like, give me the guy that misses all his putts, because like at some point he's gonna make those putts.
That's true.
Versus the guy that's been hitting all his 40-footers. Like, I don't want him.
Yeah. Nonetheless, like I said,
show next week.
I really like Chastain. I really like Newman. I really like Jones. Those are my big ones. I also have a lot of Alfredo because he does turn out a lot of lineups.
He's
really
so
well.
cheap. He finished starting 32nd.
You think he's probably going to finish 25th?
What's his upside? 20th maybe? That's upside.
20th to 22nd probably. Yeah.
I mean, so he doesn't have a ton of upside, but he just fits a lot of roster construction.
I mean, it's upside for $5,500.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I mean, but he doesn't have like true ceiling.
Oh yeah, and I'm interested to see how Alfredo does as we go throughout the year. Being a rookie.
What car is he in?
He's in front row who is the same people that Michael McDowell drives for.
Okay.
So Michael McDowell, who won the Daytona
500, so we saw him. Yeah.
Who's ran top 15. So like they've shown that those cars can, in some instances, run top 15. And as Alfredo gets more seasoned, because again he is a rookie, very much like we talked about with Chase Briscoe.
Yep.
As we go on with the season, do we see Alfredo slowly getting closer to 20th to a little bit better? Because I do think that those front row motorsports cars are going to be a little bit better, especially as we get to the chase, because it tends to be that people who make the chase, even when they're not supposed to, are able to attract a little bit more money and are able to get a little bit better cars. Maybe not for the whole team, but they get that information and it ends up seeping into the rest of the team, right? So I think as we get closer to the chase, I wouldn't be surprised if Michael McDowell's running closer to the top 10.
And when does that start? For someone that's completely new to NASCAR.
Last 10 races, so we are on race 5. And there's 36 races, so 20 more races. But
so what, April? I mean, when are we talking? No, not April. August?
It's almost April. Yeah, that sounds right.
August?
Somewhere around there.
Summerish?
Post-summer, but yeah.
Post-summer, okay.
But yeah, so looking at my driver distribution, like I said, I have a lot of new. Actually, Keselowski came up the most as a guy.
Keselowski is someone I really like.
Yeah.
I don't know that I have that much Newman, at least what I've started building, but I have a lot of Keselowski, a lot of Reddick. You want to get killed by Almirola every week. I love it. 45%. Sure. I mean, he's going to win you some money, or he is going to bankrupt our channel.
Basically.
Eric Almirola, if you'd like to come on our show, please give us a call.
I do like Smithville Beggin as well.
So Alfredo fitting in at 40%. I mean, just that price tag alone has to be what's making him fit in so many of those rosters. Because trying to fit in 2 gunners, I mean, you've got to get cheap guys.
Yeah.
So Boucher's another one down there. About 25%. Boucher, 25%. At his price tag, that's another guy that's helping you round out some of those lineups.
100%. And I've got one of Suarez.
I'm surprised Suarez is so low.
There was a lot of rosters where I could have gotten somebody like I elected personally to move up to like Eric Jones or Custer as opposed to somebody more like like Busher. Even though I have like 5 of Busher, like I could have gotten more.
Because by his price tag fit, you could have fit him or a 6,300 guy.
But I ended up moving up a little bit more, and I moved it to like Bowman, who I only have 4 of, but at 8,800, I moved up to him a couple times to get him in.
It's like went down the other way.
And
so one thing I think to think about, at least from roster construction, is when you end up at that last spot, everyone that is hand building rosters is trying to maximize that 50,000 salary. So I think there is some value when you're stuck between 2 guys and one gets you exactly to 50 and one gets you at 47.8, or no, not that much. That's too much, but 48.9 or whatever, or 49.8, whatever. But I think there's value in leaving money on the table, especially in the 2 biggest field tournaments that we enter, the 20 max and then the $15 massive field one. In the huge field tournaments, there is value in just being different.
Yeah.
Therefore, in choosing the person that leaves money on your table.
That's fair.
In the smaller fields, like I would probably just choose the one you feel better about. But in the bigger fields, I think just being different alone has more value, just from a DFS perspective. It's probably slightly less optimal, but probably more up. The expected value is probably higher. Yeah,
I mean that's fair, and I all of my rosters aren't. I don't think. Sitting at 50,000.
And there's nothing wrong. Like, I mean, optimal is probably more often than not 50,000, right? Or 49.8 or whatever. Like, more dollars spent is more often going to be the winner. But I just think, like, when I'm building rosters by hand, that's something I think of. Like, when I'm clicking in my phone, I know I just tend to gravitate towards spending all my money.
And it's really hard not to. Like, and I mean, I just glanced at mine, and probably half of them are right at 50, and probably half of them are within $300 of 50, right? Yeah. Like I'm not, and I probably never will be somebody who is like, I'm okay with this roster that's only costs
$47,000.
And like sometimes those win, and like good for you, right? Like
it's just not gonna be.
It's just not gonna be me. I just like, and I don't like. I mean, I think like what you're saying, like 100% right. Like if like I think a 90, a 49.4 roster probably has a good executive value, but like a 48 roster, it probably sucks 99.9% of the time, right? Like sometimes optimal rosters hits out at 48,000.
And in NASCAR, it may be different than in other things. So I think in like different sports, it's different. In NASCAR, I mean, I'm still trying to figure it out.
There's less choices too.
It seems like the one you've narrowed, the field is already smaller. 2, you've narrowed because of there's some guys that just aren't competing. They're just playing a different game, evidently. And then once you're within that higher pool, I think the sites have to do a better job. You have less players of distributing the prices, so you really can't. You're locked into only choosing 2 guys. You're locked into only choosing whatever. You sort of have to spend all your salary, or else you're playing too many of the guys that just they're gonna finish 35th. I mean, that's where they're gonna finish, right?
And I think that's an interesting thing as we go. Like I've been very transparent on like basically below like people that I don't think like I think there are people who are going to finish 30th to this week.
Just straight X them out of your roster.
Yeah, just X them out. And, you know, sometimes they might finish 26th and they might be in the optimal roster. And I'm just okay with taking that because most of the time they're not.
And that means you're probably not going to hit the absolute ceiling number 1 lineup that week. But you still may also cash plenty fine that week. Yeah. And the vast majority of weeks, they're not going to do anything, and they're just throwaways. Yeah.
But, like, I
think
a
tighter player pool is better overall.
Yeah. And this week's player pool, I mean, as we saw, I don't know how many.
So is this everyone right here? What do you have, 18 guys here or something?
This is all the people I have in a roster, yeah.
Yeah, I like
that. 3, 6, 9. Dang, she's fine. 12, 15, 18, 20. So we're at 20. So basically half is filled. I haven't at least.
But if you look, I mean, if you really cut out the guys you have in 1 and 2 and 3.
Yeah, it's 15.
I mean, if you look at the guys you're really heavy on, considering the guys you have 8 or more, 40% or more, I mean, it's nothing. I mean,
yeah. And so yeah, I think it's definitely something that as we go, like we'll definitely get better at how to distribute that. I think this is something that I think that we have shown, or I've shown that I'm not bad at cutting down. I'm bad at selecting once I cut them down.
I don't even think that's true. I mean, you've had the right guys there. It's been the wrong combination of guys, and then a handful of like Almirola who racked, or Custer who racked, or I mean that's just going to be the ups and downs any week. But I think your player pools have been solid. I mean, judged by my results, your player pools have been solid. So I think process-wise we're getting there. The results will follow.
Yeah, I agree. And so, you know, as we go on, if anyone wants to, comment why we're stupid or why we're smart, smart.
What you like, what you don't like about our player pools.
Yeah, no, that would be very helpful because the thing is that we, we're coming at you from a very specific point where I'm somebody who is very much on that, beginning side of how to play DFS, but has, some knowledge of NASCAR versus Keaton, who is very much the opposite of that. And that he has knowledge of DFS, but is very much, a novice on NASCAR. And, we're trying to meld those two together because you see people who are very successful at DFS and they don't know anything about NASCAR. And those are the people that are successful at NASCAR DFS. Some do know things about NASCAR, and some don't. And it infuriates me when people that don't know anything about NASCAR finish.
There's people that are consistently good at DFS in sports across the board that know next to nothing about the actual sport themselves.
We want to not be those people. Well, I don't.
I'd like to know enough about the sport to have fun. I would like to play DFS from a winning perspective. I want a plus EV gamble at the end of the day. That's all I want. A plus EV. If my gamble had a positive expected value, I'm pretty happy with it.
EV. Yeah, I just want to win something.
Ricky wants the bank attorney, y'all.
That's exactly right. And anyways,
we're getting way long. We're almost at an hour and a half.
We are. Yeah, we're going real long this week. But I think we talked about a lot of really good content.
If you've made it this far, please leave a comment that says, "Well, I made it to an hour and 22."
Yeah.
An hour and 22 down below.
Yep. And what are we giving this time?
I don't know, but if you made it to an hour and 22, I will hook you up. What is the $5? Is there a single entry $5?
There's got to be one.
There's bound to be a $5. I will send you the first 2 people that comment. I will send you a $5 single entry that says you made it to an hour and 22.
That's exactly right. Nonetheless, if you have, also like, subscribe, share. That's the big thing. Share it to people that you know, even people that you think might like us. Maybe not. I don't know. These people seem cool. You like NASCAR. You might like gambling. These guys. And so make sure to do that. Follow us on our tweeters. Mine's right here.
John Galt.
TR Parker 10.
John Galt JD.
Or the universal Twitter that I probably tweet from more. But
I'm gonna work on tweeting from it more. But Ricky tweets from it a lot more. At Pin DFS.
Yeah, at Pin DFS. But yeah, thanks everyone. We'll see you next week. Do we have a schedule for next week? Are we going to do match? We're
definitely going to do the match play. I'm super excited. I think match play offers a lot of opportunity for edge.
Very confused on how match play works. How does the scoring work?
We will get it all figured out by next week. We will. I believe scoring is very similar in terms of birdie bogey scoring.
Okay.
Place scoring will be interesting. and we will figure that out. Tune into our next week PGA show.
But yeah, we will do a PGA show next week. We're very excited. Well, Keaton's very excited about it. We'll also do another NASCAR show next week for Bristol. I don't know what day we'll do
Probably
that
Thursday
either.
night.
Yeah, we'll do it. I don't know when they'll release prices and stuff because I don't know if they'll do it before. But we will do that as well. Please, everyone, keep a hold. We'll post it on our Twitters, or also if you subscribe to us, subscribe.
You'll get that notification bell.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thanks. We're Pin and Pole DFS. I'm Ricky.
I'm Keaton.
And we've had a great day.